All right, we're back. We were just talking about the dependency, about the number of baby boomers. And I'd said, us baby boomers, me, 10 or 15 years, we're going to be mostly retired. And so we will be dependents. And so there's something called the dependency ratio. And what it is, it's very simple. It is within a population, the number of non-working people versus the number of working people in that population. So it's a measure of what portion of the population is either old or disabled. Those are the major categories, or maybe they're just lazy, But it's those people that are not working versus those that are working. Now, to get back to that graphic that I just showed, where I was showing that we had some populations where they have a huge number of young people and not so many old people, and then that's the undeveloped countries. And then in populations like in the U.S., the developed countries, we don't see so many children. So the question is, why do they have so many children? And the term that we have for the factors that influence the desire to have children, that is called pronatalist pressures. And it can be any number of different kinds of things. In some societies, they have this idea that it's really important to have kids. And so that is a pronatalist pressure. If in sort of a macho society, oh, look at me, I got 7 kids. That's another pronatalist pressure. Now, the most important pronatalist pressure, by far, the most important one is high infant mortality. If your kids are going to die, you got to have some more. And so high infant mortality is the biggest of the pronatalist pressures. Now it ends up, when we start looking at these kinds of things, what we find is that the maternal instinct, if women are empowered, and what does that mean? That means if they're educated and if they have freedom, they end up having fewer kids. So another factor in this that sort of relates to these pronatalist pressures is the freedom that women have and their understanding about biology and how everything works. Now, when we look at our populations, we have the undeveloped countries that have these real high birth rates and high death rates too. And then you have the developed countries that have low birth rates and low infant mortality rates. So when I was talking about death rates, I meant infant mortality rates. And what we call this it's kind of nirvana. It's the demographic transition. And as populations become more affluent, they go through this thing we call the demographic transition. And that's where you go from having a high infant mortality rate and a high birth rate to a condition where you have low infant mortality and a low birth rate as well. Okay, so I'm going to stop right there.